Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us again in our, as we call it, the Curbside Advice by Springboard. And this is our second week, and we're excited to have some wonderful guests joining us today. And, we're hoping we're going to be seeing this as we go into our second week, and we have some great guests for next week also. And we want, as we make this a weekly thing, and hopefully we're all crossing our fingers that within the next month to 6 weeks, we're not going to have to do these anymore because we're all going to be live and hopefully seeing everybody. So, we're excited by a lot of things. And as you can tell, Lane's kind of hidden behind the screen. That's what happens when you buy a new computer and not know how to work it. But I would be doing the same thing. As you can see, Crystal Lizama, right?
Yep.
So I had to double check because Lane was originally going to do this introduction. And Lane and I and Crystal are going to kind of introduce something. And it's what we're doing. It's called Franchisors.com. Is introducing a new thing called Switchboard. As Lane and I have always told people, everyone in the franchise is our family. This is something we feel very strong and close about. And as we go through this COVID-19 and as things go on, unfortunately, there's some people that have gone through some layoffs, some furlough. So what we're going to try to do, and through Franchisor.com, we are going to have the opportunity, and Crystal will kind of explain it more, to load up resumes and kind of play matchmaker. This is not something that's going to be our business. We're trying to get this to really help people for the next 90 days. And any people that we can help get new opportunities, this is what we really want to do. This is not going to be, as I joked around, we're not a search firm. And this is a situation where anyone can come to us and say, guys, I need some help. You'll be able to load up. And if we can find some cross-reference to people there, you will be able to look at it. So without further ado, I'll turn over to Crystal, who'll give you a better explanation.
Thank you, Brad. So again, you guys, my name is Crystal Lizama. I've been employed in the franchising community since 2013. I helped scale and grow the Fit Body Bootcamp system and worked closely with Brees till about 2019. From there, I joined a brand called Body 20, where I was their chief operating officer and also helped build those processes and put the structure in place for them to grow. I'm a certified franchise executive. I'm a Georgetown franchise management graduate. I'm also a paralegal, kind of a Swiss Army knife, I guess you would say. Unfortunately, on about April 10th, I became one of the millions that were unemployed due to COVID-19. And that's extremely hard for me to say to you guys and to have the courage to say that to everyone. But COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on franchisors and displaced many franchise experienced members of our franchise family. So what pushed me to move forward and to go online and apply for jobs was the fact that I got support from our franchise community with references and, tiny notes of, they got my support. And so I went online and I applied to every job that I sought that would fit my skill set. And within 1 hour, each one of those jobs, I saw over 400 applicants, over 500 applicants, all applied to that same position. And that makes sense since there's millions unemployed. But I didn't stop there. I decided to then look online for franchise resources that maybe there would be a support portal or hub where I could at least submit my resume in the meantime until operations get back up and running, and maybe I could have my resume submitted in the meantime. But there was nothing I could find, and I definitely saw that as a problem. And if you guys remember last week, Brees mentioned on the influencer webinar that you shouldn't wait for the man on the white horse to save you, or woman. Don't wait for them to save you. So I just thought, man, I need to create something. I need help with this problem. And so from there, I reached out to Ryan, to Lane, to Brad, to Jam to help support me, help support the other franchise professionals that are in the same boat. And from there, we all came up with a great idea, and it was to quickly pivot and make a COVID-19 franchise resource hub for the unemployed and for people similar in my boat. So I'm excited to share with you guys what we put together. It was something quick, but it's something that can definitely help everyone. And so I'm going to show you Switchboard and give you guys a quick little tour. All right, so on the Franchisors.com website, you can see on the front page, it's right here in the header. Basically, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on franchisors and displaced many trained and experienced members of our franchise fam. In an effort to prepare for the economy's relaunch, check out a free resume database known as Switchboard. So it's very simple. It's very easy for people like me to go and submit your resume. And from there, right when you click, you can go ahead and it will go and launch to this page. And it's a simple form. I didn't want something complicated. So we can just get everyone's resumes in and we can, build a support page from here and help everyone. So right here, name, email, where you're from. You could put a video, add your skills, and then of course, are you a CFE, yes or no, and then submit. So what I'm asking is just for everyone's support to reach out to your network. When we post something about this website, a quick share would be wonderful. And, we can work together as our franchise community to help push this and reach to the people that aren't speaking up. So thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. And, this is something that's very dear to mine and Lane's heart, and I know many of our friends and family out there. It's, we are a franchise family, and as we're going through this COVID-19 thing, and we want to see everyone to try to succeed and make it through this. And as you can see today, they listed another 4.4 million. This is affecting everybody in the country. So whatever we can do, our little small part to help any of our friends out there, let us know. Like I said before, this is not what Lane and I are doing. This is try to help people get their back onto their feet as we're going along here. And if we can help match a few people together, it would be wonderful. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. Now we can start going into with our two fabulous speakers.
Let's do it. Crystal, first and foremost, thank you for having the courage to share that. And you sparked something that I think would be a really good resource. So thank you very much. By way of introduction to myself, for those folks that don't know me, my name is Ryan Hicks. I have to say that this past week felt like a month and a half. This is the second Springboard at Home. We know that your time is precious. So thank you guys for being here. Couple of very quick announcements as we get started. I'd like everybody to find the chat box. Depending on the layout of your screen, it's down in the bottom. Drop us a line with what city that you're calling in from. I know that we have a lot of proud locals out there, but we want to use that chat box to build some interactivity into today's chat. So go ahead and do that and shout out your city and be sure to submit your questions. Last week's episode is up on Franchisors.com. You saw that website when Crystal was sharing the screen. There's a multimedia tab, past episodes, future episodes, it's all there. Or you could go to Lane's Facebook or LinkedIn and he has them all there as well. The theme for the day, as Brad mentioned, curbside advice. We have some absolute rock stars in the house. They bring a wealth of experience, both on the franchisor side as well as the franchisee side. So we've got some perspective here today. Brandon Landry is the CEO of Walk-Ons. He's going to tell you that his food is good. I'm here to tell you that it's really phenomenal. So Brandon, thank you for being here. We also have Johnny Weber. I call him Johnny Broski. Don't let that fool you because the guy is one of the most savvy multi-unit operators that I know, one of the largest sport clips of largest franchisees of Sport Clips, as well as an operator of Pet Supplies Plus. So Johnny and Brandon, welcome, and thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So just to give some context for the folks that are on, we've got a pretty large audience, and so we're speaking to people in different realms of franchising. But go ahead and introduce yourself, Brandon. We'll start with you. Give a little context on your background and your brand.
Yeah, so I'm Brandon Landry. I'm the founder. First of all, thanks for having us, Fisher and Fisher Zucker. I appreciate it. So I was a walk-on on the LSU basketball team in the late 90s, early 2000s. As you can see, our office here, I was telling the crew before we got on, we have a lot more fun than we do seriousness. So we keep the basketball mentality here. Figured out pretty early on in my career, being a walk-on, I probably wasn't going to play in the NBA. I played 7 minutes my senior season. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall that I probably needed to figure out another way to make a living. And so my founding partner and I, we literally were on the way back from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, just got beat by about 25 points. And we started doodling on a napkin and we said, let's start a restaurant. That's an easy business, right? You're 20 and 21 years old, ignorance is bliss. And so we did it. We came back to LSU in an entrepreneurship class and did it as a school project and got a C on that project. I should have told us right then and there. But, being that walk-on and having that walk-on mentality, it was never give up, let's keep trying. And so we kept working at it. We worked at the business plan. We got turned down by the first 6 banks that we went to. And I get it. We were very young and inexperienced, but walk-on mentality, once again, we went to number 7. And number 7 said, we're willing to back you guys. And so that was in 2003. We got the original location open. It was supposed to be 1 unit. And we were fortunate enough to get through the first couple of years of that. And we expanded in our home state of Louisiana. And now we're sitting here almost 17 years later with 38 operating restaurants, mainly a franchise organization, and we have over 100 units sold throughout the country.
Kudos, man. And it's an impressive operation that you guys have. The corporate office is phenomenal. We were in a ton of them this summer. Johnny, give us a little thumbnail on your background and what you're up to.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And good afternoon. I'm Johnny Weber. And I'd like to thank first Brad and Lane for being such great leaders in the franchising community. You guys really do make it feel like a franchise family. So thank you guys for doing everything you do throughout the years. And also thank you, Ryan, for hosting and organizing this podcast. So thank you, buddy. I started back in 2008 in franchising, but before that, I grew up on a small farm in Oklahoma, a town of about 7,000 people. I was a wrestler in high school and a couple of years in college. Really, there's no place to go after wrestling. Now there's UFC, but back in the day there wasn't. So, after high school and college, I went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, did that for several years, enjoyed that community and that business. And then I jumped into surgical sales and sold surgical equipment operating rooms. About 2007, I started looking for opportunities to buy a company or a business, and I got interested in franchising. So I went to a franchise expo in Las Vegas and found Sport Clips, and they approved me to be a franchisee. I said, gosh, where can I go to build some stores? They said Little Rock's completely sold out. That's where I was living at the time. I said, what about Nashville? They said it's wide open. And so being naive, kind of like Brandon said, I didn't have a lot of cash. I had about $80,000 or $90,000 in my 401k and my IRAs combined. And so I cashed that in through a rollover and did the rest of it through financing. So 2008, I started franchising about 3 stores that were struggling. We learned how to turn those around. A few months later, we ended up buying the developing rights for Tennessee and started developing the brand here locally. As you all are aware, it's hard to sell franchises as you're closing stores. So there were some stores that weren't doing well, which we ended up picking up for sometimes hardly anything to turn those stores around, and ended up buying the developing rights for Alabama, Florida Panhandle, and then fast forward to Indiana, Kentucky. So we ended up buying and building a lot of stores, and we got really good at operating stores personally. Back about a couple years ago, I was about a 60-store multi-unit operator with Sport Clips, and sold the developing rights back to Sport Clips in 2017, and then got into the Pet Supplies Plus model. So we sold a few stores, reorganized geographically, built back some more stores, bought some more stores, and we're currently at 58 Sport Clip stores with 2 Pet Supplies Plus currently operating.
Johnny, and just to give context, because that's what we're going to do on today's discussion, you operate in 9 different states. You mentioned a couple of those states are some of the first back to market. So I think that perspective is going to be really good. That's correct, right? 9 states?
Yeah, we operate in 9 states, currently Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, Louisiana, Mississippi, Virginia, and North Carolina. So there's a lot of moving parts right now as we're trying to assess what's really going on and how, now that we've completely closed all of our stores, and the Sport Clips model has around 1,900 stores nationwide that are all 100% closed down currently. So now we're trying to gear up and see how can we get these stores open, reopened, but how do we also get to profitability, because that's a key part of this process.
Yeah, that'll be the second topic that we get into. For the first topic, I'll kick it over to Brandon. What has Walk-On's done to innovate with, you're not fully closed, your dine-in experience is closed, but I know that you guys have done some really neat things on the giving back side and maybe with some technology, but what have you guys done to innovate as this has really been a challenge in the business?
Yeah, so I mean, look, our business, we're predominantly dine-in. We do 10 to 15% of to-go sales prior to COVID-19, and so we basically had to change our model overnight. Look, and I told our team, being challenged in life it's an inevitable thing, right? You have to prepare for those type of things. Being defeated is optional, so we could either sit here and feel sorry for ourselves and just get defeated, or we can sit here and say, let's go kick butt. And, with that walk-on mentality that I spoke of in the beginning, that's exactly what our team did. And so we didn't sit here and say, oh man, we're going to lose all these sales, or we sell 30% alcohol, we're not going to have any bar sales. We said, let's go get it. And so in the restaurants and the operators that did that, we saw it right away. And you're talking about turning in basically our parking lots into a drive-through service. Getting out and going build sales. We have our food trailers that we're scheduling still to looking across the parking lot where our trailer's about to go out in our neighborhood. We're calling local neighborhoods in all of our communities to go out and feed those people that really don't want to get out of their norm, but they want to get out of their house. And we're doing it the right way and making sure we're social distancing and implementing all those things that, what the government has kind of asked us to do. But the main thing is that we didn't sit here and say we're not going to do any sales. Look, the first week was tough. When you're talking about over 80% dine-in service, and the first thing the president says is don't go in restaurants, stay in your house. That's not good for business. And so everyone at first was like, whoa, we're not. Like it was a 90% drop for us. And then week by week, people started getting, okay, I got it. I can't cook the same thing again. And so they're getting back to some normality, and it's kind of a new way of life for us in looking at designs now for future prototypes, and how do we look at this? And like they say, with every crisis comes opportunity. So we looked at this and say, do we expand on our to-go areas? We've already ordered camera systems for our takeout to-go areas, just so we can implement curbside in all of them, because this is an opportunity for us. And like you mentioned, I appreciate the kind words about our cuisine. That's what makes us different. Typically a sports bar, you go watch a game, drink a beer. If you get really hungry, you might order something to eat. Where our points of differentiation is our cuisine, and being here in South Louisiana and known for our food and our culture, those are the things that we hang our hat on. And so system-wide, before COVID, we're over 70% food to alcohol. And so we still got lots of takeout business once we went through this. And that was the luxury of being a sports bar that has good cuisine. And so, that's a long-winded answer on what you asked, but the main point is you have to step outside of your norm, outside of your comfort level, and go build sales. You can't just wait for it to come to you.
What I saw, and I'm friends, as Brandon knows, I'm friends with a lot of his team through that and social media. And I was so impressed that you guys would have tents out there and just like serving like almost, I don't want to say made it a mentality, almost like a sports bar mentality without the sports bar. You're out there, you're talking to the community, but keeping your social distancing. And you're bringing something to the community instead of not all the time waiting to come to your parking lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made it fun for your team.
It did. And it kept, our main goal when this first happened, and when I looked at our team and I said, the main thing we have to do is try to keep as many people as possible employed. Our team, our staff, that's the lifeblood of our company. And so whether it be in our corporate office, in our restaurants, our managers, our hourly staff, how do we keep as many as we possibly can? And I know we'll get into our furlough kitchen here in a little bit, but that was a big piece of the puzzle as well moving forward, especially being involved in our communities.
Johnny, how have you guys approached it? And you can quickly speak to both sides of the house, Sport Clips and Pet Supplies Plus, but what does this force you guys to do from an innovation perspective? And I know that at Sport Clips, maybe that's not providing the service now, but laying the groundwork for when you do come back. But what have you guys been doing and seeing?
Yeah, so like you said, at Sport Clips, we're completely shut down. There's not much we can do other than communicate and stay in touch with our stylists to make sure that they're engaged and looking towards the future. You know, right now it's some waters that we've never been in, very turbulent. So we as leaders have to be stronger leaders today more than ever with our teammates and our people around us, and making sure they understand that we're driving forward, kind of like Brandon said. With the Pet Supplies Plus model, you know, gosh, we have online order online, pick up at Curbside, order online, free delivery same day if you order before 1 o'clock. And so those orders have significantly went up. And as we're trying to do that, we're also trying to practice social distancing within our stores and making sure that our employees understand that too. We are still currently open. We're not doing the kind of business as the grocery stores or Walmarts or Targets, but we are staying busy and holding our own. We're pretty flat right now through the COVID-19, but at least we're staying open, keeping our people employed, keeping the people out there that have these precious pets with food and things that they need to take care of their animals. But, you know, I've been in a lot of places, not a lot, I try not to go anywhere, but, you know, when I go to the grocery store or I go to Walmart, you know, it's kind of amazing to me that some of the employees don't even practice social distancing. You know, you walk in and you're trying to stay away from them. And so I think as we reopen, we have to be cognizant of what we're doing, to be aware of how our employees are reacting to the client that's coming in the door.
Yeah. Brandon, quick thumbnail on what you're doing with Furlough Kitchen. And then also if I could have each of you share maybe something that was born out of this that you think from a long-term perspective that will be positive for the business. But what is Furlough Kitchen?
Yeah, so our friends from Dallas, Front Burner Restaurants, Randy DeWitt and his team, they actually came up with the idea, and they were doing it in the Dallas area and being friends of them. So basically it's providing meals for furloughed hospitality workers, whether they worked for us or not. And so, and we had our 501c3, our Walk-On's Game On Foundation that was originally designated to raise funds and build and rebuild, refurbish youth sports facilities in markets that we're in. But we've actually used that platform to raise money for Furlough Kitchen. So whether it be cash donations or vendors, partners of ours providing products, we've fed over 10,000 hospitality workers so far since the crisis in numerous markets that we're in right now. Baton Rouge and New Orleans being, of course, our first ones that we got it going in. But, you know, whether it just be a cheeseburger and fries or crawfish etouffee or gumbo or anything like that we might offer, it's just a meal that day for a furloughed hospitality worker. And I can't tell you, look, we've gotten great PR for it, but that's not the reason why we did it. First of all, it was to keep our team working and to keep those spirits up of the people, because we realized what they're going through. We had a lot of them in our family, but it's just really cool to see, you know, our team get behind it. Our franchisees, every franchisee that we told, as soon as we announced it, they said, we want in. I mean, it was awesome. From Fayetteville, North Carolina, down to Wesley Chapel down in Tampa, Florida, to Birmingham, Alabama, and of course our home state of Louisiana. And the fact that we can sit here and say we provided over 10,000 meals has been awesome. And then Drew Brees, my partner Drew's a co-owner in our company. I'm sure you guys have seen what he's done on a national level. And as soon as this went down, he called me and he said, Brandon, what can I do? And he goes, I don't want to just throw money at things. He goes, I think the most important thing is getting food in people's mouths. And said, we can do that. And so Drew's, you guys have probably seen the headlines, donated $5 million of he and Brittany's own money to buy meals, just for whether it be the youth, the elderly, the people that just can't afford it. It doesn't matter. And so we've provided most of those meals from our walk-ons platform.
Awesome. Let's switch the topic to reopening. Johnny, we've already mentioned that you're in markets that are some of the first to come back. So how are you approaching the when to open question as you know you're operating in these places? How are you guys approaching? Are you going to open it immediately as soon as possible? Are you going to wait it out? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think every market's going to depend on how ready we are and how ready our staff is. And, you know, we can open this Friday in Georgia, but I think we're going to hold off until next week to make sure things are going to move forward smoothly. You know, as we're reopening, we have to be the cleanest, most sanitized barbershop out there, and not just be the cleanest, but we also have to be perceived as the cleanest and best sanitized out there. As we're reopening up, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need haircuts, and we have to make sure that we're protecting not only our client, but also we're protecting our staff. I mean, we are touching people, we are doing haircuts, we can wear a mask, and we recommend that our client wear a mask as well. But there's going to be a lot of issues as we open up, you know, with childcare, for example, with the people that we have working for us. We have a lot of young mothers that are in our family and group. And so childcare is going to be an issue as we try to open up as well.
Got it. I'll have a follow-up question to that, but Brandon, as dine-in's closed, but are you guys putting a lot of thought into what reopening looks like for you? I know that we just had another announcement, I think, while we were in the prior to this launching, but how are you guys going about this and thinking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our priority right now, is getting our dining rooms back open. You know, when you look at Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, these look like they're going to be sooner than later. And so the luxury that we've had, other than Johnny's group, is we've been doing some business. You know, we've been cooking, even though they haven't been sitting in our bar stools and our seats. We've been operating. And so now it's just our team has been working around the clock, just with state, local, national levels of the restaurant side, and just how do we do this, right? This is the new norm. How do we seat our restaurants? How much distance do we have to have in between them from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3? The luxury that we have pretty large footprints. And so we can still get a good amount of people inside of our buildings and still keep that social distancing. And so it's new for us. It's the new norm. We're going to have to get used to that. If you'd have told somebody back in August of 2001 that one day you'll have to walk in an airport, wait an hour in a security line, take your shoes off, and, oh, by the way, they can go through all of your bags, you would have said you're crazy. But now today, that's normal. And so what's going to be the new norms for our business now? I think that's still to be told, but we're prepared for it. I don't think anything's out of the question at this point. But look, once again, we're going to roll with it. And I think more people than not are ready to get back to, you know, whether it just be get something to eat, grab a beer with a bud, or just don't take for granted the things that we took for granted before. Actually being able to go and watch a sporting event inside of a sports bar. And so we're going to embrace it, and we're ready for it.
One of the big things going on right now, as you guys reopen, as you reopen, is obviously the different cleaning challenges that are going to be there that no one ever really had before. You know, you just assume that, you know, I've been to obviously the sport clubs, and I've been to walk-ons many times. They're always, cleaning was never an issue. And what are they going to have to change when people leave? Right? What it's going to have to do? The things that we never took for granted before. Silverware, are they going to come pre-wrapped now? Hair care, are you going to have to, you know, wipe down everything way better? How often are you going to have to clean the whatever, not the aprons, but the
cape.
The cape.
Menus. I mean, we're going to open with paper menus that we're going to dispose of. You know, so it's also trying to run new budgets to what's our paper cost going to look like if we have to throw away every menu, because you don't want to touch, at least right now, I don't want to touch a menu that someone prior to me's had in their hands. So this is it's all new to us. We're trying to turn every stone right now and just think about what could be.
Johnny, from a tactical standpoint in your world, is there any advice or on really twofold, the specific tactic and practices, but also just building that trust? Because I think I personally am not going to be as leery as most people, but I think a lot of consumers, that the trust piece of you projecting and making them feel comfortable that you're doing everything in your means possible to make sure that they're safe and things are sanitized. But how are you building that trust, and tactically, what does the experience look like for you as you reopen?
Well, all of our stylists will be we'll take their temperature before they come in the door. So we'll make sure that the temperature is fine. They'll all be wearing masks. We'll have sanitized disinfectant spray on every single counter. We will also use every other station as we continue to open until further notice. So that'll give us our 6 feet social distancing. In most states, I think we're only going to be able to have 10 people inside that store, which would allow us to have 4 stylists cutting hair, 4 people getting their hair cut, and then 1 extra stylist that could really kind of navigate and make sure that everything's being properly cleaned, number 1. Number 2, that we're getting people checked in. So there's a series of events that we can track. And then, if the guys have to wait in their car, there's got to be some way we can contact them and let them know that they're ready for their haircut as well. So there's going to be quite a few changes. I mean, just like Brad said, the cape. I mean, we used to reuse that cape, but now we're going to have to re-sanitize and clean that cape through every haircut. So with that said, we got to have a lot more capes, 1 for every person that you're going to have to do. We can sanitize and wash those capes, but it's going to take time to get those capes ready to come back out on the floor. So there's a lot of things, just like Brandon said, with menus that people have really have just started thinking about, or the community doesn't think about, that we're obviously thinking about.
Johnny, I just got a question texted to me for you. I think you already kind of spoke to it, but this Georgia situation is happening quickly. What are your thoughts on being the first to open when the order is lifted, considering the PR around the fact that you're in personal services? So let's say fast forward, Georgia happens. What are your thoughts of being first to open, and how are you weighing that?
Well, initially I said we want to be first to open so we can make sure we get the client flow in that's been kind of pent up. And I've seen a bunch of my buddies get haircuts at home, and they look awful, to be honest. And so I know there's going to be a lot of haircut need, and I know there's going to be a lot of haircut fixing that we have to do. But I don't think anybody knows, Ryan. I mean, we could be the first to open this week in Georgia, but there's a lot of pushback right now in the news with them opening too early. So we're going to sit back and wait. We're going to plan on opening our salons and barbershops over there a week from Friday to give us a little bit of time to make sure that we're 100% organized and ready to do this thing. The worst thing that could happen is you open up and you're not ready, you're not organized, and somebody gets sick or one of your employees gets sick, and it could be a disaster if you don't be careful.
Yeah. Brandon, if you have anything to add to that, you can. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, just on the food side, especially when you're putting things in your mouth. We just have to be a lot more careful. Look, we were always just top notch on cleanliness and sanitation, but I think this just amps it up even more. We're going to take temperatures as well. Like I said, getting used to the new no menus or no reusable menus, no condiments on the tables. We're looking at, like Brad mentioned, we put tents outside in our parking lot for our drive-through services. Now we're looking at, we talked this morning about possibly all of our units putting up tents outside the front doors for expanded waiting areas. Just if we do come in and, okay, we're at capacity according to our limitations, we don't have people crammed in, or they don't have to go sit in their car. We just have an expanded outdoor waiting area. And so just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question that it's been a big thing brought up with a lot of companies. As a matter of fact, I just read an article about it today, and this is kind of, this is first I'll ask Johnny, then I'm going to ask Brandon, because this is, are you concerned that some of the employees that basically will say, you want to know something, I'm better off staying home with the unemployment type of thing? There was a big article about a spa in the West Coast, and you read that too? That she was shocked that not a lot, many of her employees said they'd rather just wait it out collecting unemployment.
Yeah, I think that's a huge concern, Brad. I've talked to a lot of my buddies inside the brand as well, and they all have that concern. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are ready to go back to work, and the stylists and managers that are great performers did a great job, not only through the haircut, but also, commissioning and really following our 5-point play at Sport Clips. They can't make the same kind of money sitting at home drawing unemployment. Now, there's that certain level of stylists that didn't make the top end money that can make more money staying at home. So we think that is going to be a challenge, with the client flow, not knowing where that's going to be and only having 4 or 5 stylists at a time at the store. We think we can get open and then start trying to bring our current stylists back as our first priority, obviously, and then start trying to hire other stylists that are out there that are looking to go back to work and make some money for sure. And, Gordon's been a great leader in the industry, and he's a thought leader in franchising and in the hair industry. So we got great leadership. We've had great support throughout this time through COVID-19. We've had great communication through Zoom calls, and as well as through, just email communication and the processes that we're trying to put together as a company as well.
Thank you. So Brad, a question actually came through for you. Shane Evans from Massage Heights down in San Antonio says, Brad, and this is along the vein of what we were just talking about, how should brands and franchisors and franchisees included be prepared to handle the PR inquiries, media showing up at their locations with poor intentions due to personal service opinions?
Well, and this is going to be something that's going to continue to go on in every industry. Yeah. Because as we go back to it, as Brandon mentioned, everybody wants to go out. Living in Illinois, we're probably stuck here for another month. And it's like a huge pent up demand. But with saying that, you want to make sure that you are showing a care for your public, you're caring for your customers, you're caring for your employees. And so you have to be very careful because a lot of us are going to be under a microscope. And we are setting them up for the future. And I love that, Johnny took the idea of saying, okay, great. We're going to, we're going to have 4 stylists. We're going to do it correctly. It's going to cost you extra money to buy some more capes, but you're taking the time and money to do that. There's no money in it for doing Furlough Kitchen, but Brandon knows their concept's going to be around forever. And by caring about it, you are setting goodwill in the community to let people know we really care about you. But, so people who are opening but not doing it right, it could have huge ramifications. So make sure your franchisees are doing it right, and it might consider spending a few more dollars, but in the long run, as we're hearing now, and Brandon will tell you, I'm sure he reads the same stuff I do, there's going to be a lot of restaurants who will not make it through this COVID-19. And it's tough, and some wonderful people, not to their own fault. I mean, they don't get the loans, something happens. There's so much thing. They have their landlord is forcing them to come up with the money when they've been closed for 90 days. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that unfortunately are going to get hurt. But when you do open, take the extra time. I applaud Johnny for waiting the extra 3-4 days, because by this time he knows he's going to be ready. It's hard to tell your franchisee, okay, pull the chairs up. Go find thermometers. What are you going to do for gloves? What are you going to do for a lot of different things? Technology. Fortunately, Johnny's with a big franchisor. They have the technology. Brandon is invested in it. Not all franchise systems, especially small emerging ones, have that type of technology. So make sure you guys are doing it right. How are you going to get paid? The things that we just take for granted. Is it going to be, are you going to be able to do it off your phone? How are you going to get paid? I'm still a person who carries cash in me. And, sometimes, when you go for a haircut, you pay cash. I'm sure that's not something that's going to want to occur in the very near future.
Yeah,
that's a good point, man, because you think about look, Sports Clips is going to make it through this. Walk-ons is going to make it through this. The big boys are going to make it through this, but it's the ones, the local, the mom and pops, the one unit guys that, like I got some buddies here in South Louisiana that have single unit restaurants that I talked to my buddy last night. He's about on if he doesn't get this PPP, he's on his last week of cash. Like he needs to get some customers coming in the doors. And of course, safety and health of his employees are top priority, but he thinks it's time to do both. How do you balance both of them? And, back to your question about, the concerns about the staff coming back, is it concerning? Yes. Am I worried? No. Just because I think, from the get-go, we told our team that we had their back. I think our communication and anyone, that's out there, it's communication has to be of top priority. Just like we sent out an email from our walk-ons team to every one of our franchisees and operators daily for 2 weeks. And then we went to twice a week once kind of the info started diminishing. But it was just so important for our franchisees to know, look, we're here. We are sharing every bit of information that we can possibly get our hand. It's not like we can say, okay, well, 10, 15 years ago when this happened, this is what we did. No, this is new for everyone in the entire world. So we were sharing information. We were gaining information from them, and we told them for the first 3 weeks, I don't know how many other franchisors or franchise systems did this. We're not collecting royalties. I don't care how much or how little you're doing. Take that money that you're taking, whatever that 5% or that 2% of marketing that you be sending us, pay your staff. Take care of your team. Let them know that you're there for them. Because to your point of, is it better for them to stay home right now or come back? If you're communicating that message, hey man, this is for a period of time, not till the end of time. Once this is all said and done, you're going to need us. And right now we need you. Right. And so it's how do you communicate that message to your team? And if they feel like you have their best interests at heart, they're going to be there for you. And that's why I feel very confident, and all our franchisees do as well, that we'll have our team there for us when we need them.
Absolutely. So another topic that is pressing for a lot of people, obviously we have some movement on Capitol Hill. I think the House is voting today, and then the second round of funding looks like it is going to come through. We have a number of people are finally starting to see some funds come through. You mentioned some of the other things that we have to be budgeting for and all the different unknowns, but how are you thinking about the deployment of this funding as it starts to kind of grease the wheels a little bit? I'll direct that to Johnny. Johnny, we'll start with you.
So I think you're asking about uses of funds, right?
Yep.
And if that's the case, the final guidelines I think are supposed to come out on Sunday. So it's unfortunate that some people have already got their money and they still don't know how to spend it, or how they can spend it, I should say. We're taking this money, or when we get the money, we should get funded probably tomorrow. And we're going to try to wait until we find out what the guidelines are. I mean, word on the street is you have to spend it within 8 weeks of that funding date. You got to spend 75% to work with payroll, and then the other 25% is going to be allowable expenditures like landlords. I can tell you our first and number one priority are our employees, period. Our number two priority are our landlords. And so everything else comes behind our employees and our landlords, and we'll deal with everything else down the road. I think I saw a question, how are you guys dealing with landlords? Well, I've got 58 landlords at Sport Clips. I got 2 landlords at Pet Supplies Plus. So we're dealing with about 60 landlords that are different people, different perspectives, and different places of where they need to be and want to go. I say we sent letters to everybody, but we've also picked up the phone and talked to these landlords, because, send a blanket letter to 60 landlords. Hey, this landlord, maybe a small landlord from your city that can't make their payment unless you pay your rent. So working through every situation is very important. And I think not running and hiding from these issues, but facing them head on and picking up the phone and calling these people and being aggressive, trying to work deals out and saying, we're going to get through this, but guys, we need you to help us. You know, if we can get a 90-day deferral, great. You know, if we can get half rent this month, awesome. But what do you need to get through this? And I'll tell you what I need. And you know what? I don't know that we know the answer to that, because we may be dealing with this another 6 months. You know, so I don't think there's any definitive answers when you're dealing with landlords or what we're going through with COVID-19.
I think you hit it on the head, though, Johnny. It's the communication once again. Just like our team, it's the same thing with the landlord. We did the exact same thing. We picked up the phone, and whether it was ours directly or our franchisee's landlord, we helped them with that. Just let them look, help us out. And most of it was a 90-day deferral. I think we got over 95% of our stores that got 90-day deferrals. And so our landlords have been great. But on the flip side, you kind of had to think about it. Who the hell are they going to go rent it to? You know, it's not just us, yeah. Right? They're not going to the next restaurant and filling our space if they don't. And so, not that we needed leverage, but you kind of had it when the whole world is shut down. And so, but that, look, they were all very appreciative of the phone calls and very understanding and worked with us all.
That's very good. Folks, we have about 10 minutes left. So if you have direct questions for Johnny or for Brandon, submit them in the chat box. Lane, did you have anything? I see we just got the video working.
Oh, yeah, look, well, I didn't want to be distracting. It was going so well, I didn't want to actually interrupt. I am so grateful. And I know that the people that we talk to are extremely grateful for you folks sharing sort of your contemporaneous thoughts that are also have now become your immediate implemented ideas, or will be. And this is an unbelievable and unusual time. The haircut will never be the same. I don't know how your hair even look if you have your ear sticking out like Brad during your thing. I'm glad we got a haircut. Johnny, I'm glad we resolved that you are going to use a head thermometer at the shop. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely head, not
I mean, look, it's a time to laugh a little bit. It's, Brandon, I was just listening to you tell the story and can imagine the shock of, being down 100% and open. I mean, that's the bullet in the head. And what are you going to do when you're not set up for? You're not curbside. I was somewhere yesterday, and the front door is a takeout window. They cut a new pane of glass in because you can't, I guess, enter. But it's pretty spectacular. So, as we, and I don't know who has the answer to this, but I guess the magic will happen, I guess, when we roll out and implement the who and when of who comes back based on the payroll opportunities, and then how you make that model profitable. Like Johnny, everyone's going to want a haircut. And if you can only do half as many, forget the people you could bring back or can't bring back. The facility no longer supports the same kind of revenue. I'm thinking about in the fitness business, there's the equipment can't be as close together, whether somebody's going to jump right on it again. How are you just sort of like, have you worked through numbers? Is there modeling and planning around trying to make that work? Is that what you do at night when you're not selling dog food and running into the curb?
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing we're trying to figure out, because once we get reopened, and we got to make sure we can make some money, moving forward as well. And so we don't know what all that looks like, Lane. I didn't know if that was Lane or Joey Exotic. I mean, when he popped up, it kind of looks like Joey Exotic.
I'm gonna soon I'm gonna come with a different wig. I'm gonna try to. My wife is now using 1980s 89 slang to me, and I'm wearing only white jeans around the house. But
we hope maybe we can push some of these clients to different days and hours of the day. For example, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays are our busiest days of the week. So can we push some of those clients to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, versus those busier days? The mornings are a little bit slower than the evening times after work and school. So can we push some of those clients to those days the times of the days that are also a little bit slower? So that's all to be determined. I mean, we don't know the answers to that yet, but we're going to get through it one way or the other.
Yeah, I think for us, it's more, how do we build on what we've built over the last 30 to 45 days? And so, like I mentioned before, we started off, or before COVID-19, we were 10 to 15% takeout sales. we're sitting here. We looked at our numbers from last week. We're over 50% in a sports bar that's doing over 50% of where we were before. So that's very encouraging for us to say, look, if we can get back to 50% occupancy and then still keep the takeout sales, maybe not 50%, but you can get close to normal to where you were before. And so, but of course we're running, look, restaurants run off of small margins, as we all know, prior to COVID-19. And so if any bit that you're cutting out of there is having us, so we're modeling everything now, looking at okay, where we are now, maybe next month we get to 60, then in the fall to 80, and maybe by the end of the year we get back to 2019 numbers. I don't know, but we have to prepare for that.
That's it's interesting. The landlord, like you said, like the landlord's got a whole bunch of configured space that now doesn't work based on the business model that the rent was calculated on. It's not only your problem, it's theirs. But I mean, I'm glad that they're working with you. It sounds like you had great success with that. I think that was a lot of leadership that came out of the home offices, I think, including yours, in terms of giving folks.
I'll say this as well. It's also opportunity to leverage and go rework some deals, some leases. Not that you want to stick it to any landlords, but if there's ever been a time to sit down with them and put pen to paper and say, okay, I don't want to go anywhere, but this is what, especially in our business, like I just mentioned, on small margins, you got to work with me here. And maybe you go on some percentage rent deals or things like that, especially in the restaurant space, to say, look, I can't pay what we agreed upon in 2015, but this is kind of what we're looking at to finish 2020. Will give me this base, and then anything above that, if I get back to normal, you get your money. But let's work together here.
That's a very good idea. Brandon, one question that came in for you. This is really more of kind of a personal leadership question, as it's very hard for every leader of every business at this moment. But what do you think is the most important skill that you've gained that this challenge brought forth that will give you a slight edge in business going forward?
Well, when you look at crisis like this, and like I mentioned in the beginning, I think the measure of a leader and a team's greatness is the ability to retain compassion in a time of crisis. Right. And so if you just kind of think of that, and great leaders in our history and great companies, if you sit there in the fact that we could all, Johnny, all of us in every one of our businesses, I mean, there's a lot of them that just tucked their head and felt sorry for themselves and said, poor, pitiful me. And guess what? Those are the ones that are going to sit here on the backside of this and they say, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Or they're the ones that said, let's do what we were born to do, And like I said, the furlough kitchen, that was a no-brainer for us. Getting out in the community right now, doing all the things that, showing that compassion in a time of need, that's what our company does. And look, not that we were out there trying to get all this PR credit for it, but like to Brad's point earlier, once this is all said and done, we're going to have a lot of goodwill in the communities that we're in because we did that. And we didn't have to. We're not making $1 off of it. We're keeping people employed. And so I think it's just having that mindset is just to get out there. This is for a period of time. It's not to the end of time. If you keep that in your head, and look, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's get to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Football's going to be back before we know it. I mean, we're gonna get back to normal. It's going to take some time. Like I said, we're going to have a new normal, but you cannot sit there and feel sorry for yourself. And our team, I give credit to each and every one of them, all of our franchisees. They have been nothing but positive through these times and saying, look, we're going to get through it. And I truly believe that.
Well, I hope your words and message of compassion inspired a couple of folks. It sounds like that you've really groomed that within your franchisees, but I absolutely love the response. Johnny, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I think I might have cut you off.
Thanks, Brandon, for adding that. That question actually come from my son, Cole, and he he loves your concept, and he's excited about. He's a University of Arkansas kid. He just graduated last May, so
Awesome.
he moved to Nashville, and he's focused 100% on our pet stores and doing a great job. So thanks for that answer for him. That's awesome. And like Brandon said, I think the most important thing we can do right now is lead with a no fear zone. You know, we got to get through this. We're going to get through it. It's going to happen sooner than later, and continue to lead with enthusiasm and direction. And I would say pull other good people around you. Make sure you have good mentors around you, people that you can talk to. People, you know, guys, we're all going through this. So make phone calls to other franchisees, other brands. I know I got friends in the Jersey Mikes, and I reach out to them a lot, you know, and what are you guys doing? Where are you guys getting funding? You know, how are you guys doing staying open? So reach out to other people. Don't try to figure it out on your own. You know, Chris Rowland, our CEO of Pet Supplies Plus, he's been a great leader through this and great communication as well. So we've got some great thought leaders out there. And thank you again, Lane and Brad and Ryan, for having us on.
You're amazing. Hey, Ryan, can I jump in and just, I wasn't on the beginning, and I'm sorry I had technical difficulties, still can't get the background right, but I'm by week 3, I'll catch up. I just want to reiterate that we've heard from so many people, all of us, and every person who's in franchise, in terms of folks who have been displaced by the pandemic. And we ask you to help us help them. We're going to try to, we've created a place for these resumes of people that are available. Hopefully there'll be a resource for folks as they go add back onto their teams and relaunch, but it's not going to go anywhere unless folks ultimately spread the word and folks ultimately take the time to enter and scan their resume. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. It's at no cost. There's no cost to participate, no cost to search it. As we get through the pandemic, it's just a place where the people that are already qualified and already have some background in franchising can be located in one spot, just to try to facilitate that. But so, you know, we set it up, but as you know, we got to get the word out. So when we're going to put out a lot of social media today and a lot of other things that we'll broadcast, and we'll ask the rest of our friends and family that have a job and know how secure that feels at this moment to help us share and spread that message and be an advocate for us to try to create this robust resource for hopefully new, great, competent, trained people instead of, I guess, the way it used to be. But I don't want to go much beyond 4. Ryan, you're amazing. I appreciate the way you've organized the material. You guys, as I said, you know, it's always like great when people call and ask you what you're doing. I'm going to accuse my mom of doing that, but you know, when you don't really know the answer is you're trying to figure it out as you know. And I appreciate you letting us sort of expose where you are in the process, and you're, you know, we appreciate the dexterity and agility that comes with this process, and mostly your willingness to share. So Ryan, I'll turn it back to you to close, but Brad, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to really thank Brandon and Johnny. They've been phenomenal. And I love the different point of views about giving back and having a very large multi-franchisee. Tell us what real life is really like for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Echo what Brad and Lane said. Johnny and Brandon, you guys rock. Can't wait to business as usual so I can get into walk-ons as well. Shout out to Cole, Johnny's son. I didn't realize that was Cole Weber. But thank you, everybody, for joining. And come visit us next week, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good one, guys.